And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Tonight's weather showing low pressure here just south of the Alaska Peninsula and a front bringing areas of light rain from southern Cook Inlet, Homer, Seldovia, Kodiak Island, all the way west to the Alaska Peninsula. Another system trying to push some rain into the far western Aleutians. Otherwise, a weak trough spreads some clouds and scattered showers into the Panhandle. Stays mostly dry over the interior with improving conditions and lightning winds along the eastern Arctic coast. For tomorrow, weak trough in the interior, variably cloudy skies to mostly cloudy in the afternoon with scattered showers developing, and mostly sunny to the south of that trough and also up to the north. Rain for the Panhandle and big high pressure here over the Bering Sea, keeping things pretty calm out in that area as well as dry. That holds into Sunday as well, with very light winds over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. This weak system staying to the south, mostly sunny skies southern Alaska, including Kodiak Island, and a trough kicking off some afternoon showers in the central interior. Back to sunshine to the north, and another system starts to affect the southern Panhandle. For the coastal water forecast on the south coast of the Panhandle tomorrow, southeast winds 25 to 30 knots with higher gusts. Otherwise, the central coast, south to east winds at about 15. And the north coast, variable winds 5 to 10 knots. Lynn Canal, southeast winds 15 knots. Stevens Passage, southeast winds 15 knots. Clarence Strait, southeast winds 25 knots. And then for the day on Sunday, south to southeast winds at 20 knots for the south coast, and Clarence Strait southeast at 15. Otherwise, central northern interchannel southeast at 10, southeast 20 for the central coast, and east-southeast winds at 15 to 20 knots for the north coast. Prince William Sound, eastern North Gulf Coast, variable winds at 10 knots for Saturday. North 10 to 15 knot winds for Cook Inlet, and northeast winds at 20 knots for the Barren Islands and Kamishak Bay. And for Sunday, Prince William Sound, northwest winds at 10 knots. West at 15 here for the western North Gulf Coast. Over toward Middleton Island, more of a north to northeast wind at 15. West winds 15 knots, Kamishak Bay and the Barren Islands, and southwest to northwest breeze at 10 knots for Cook Inlet. Kodiak Island, northeast winds Saturday 20 to 25 knots. North to northwest winds 20 to 30 knots for the Alaska Peninsula, and small craft advisories in Bristol Bay for northeast winds at 25 knots. Sunday, variable winds 10 to 15 knots for the Alaska Peninsula, southwest at 15 for Bristol Bay, west winds at 15 for Kodiak Island. And for the eastern Aleutians, northwest winds 25 to 30 knots tomorrow, Adak and Atka, east at 20. And east-southeast winds, 20 to 25 knots for the western Aleutians. And then for the day on Sunday, western areas, east to southeast winds, 15 to 25 knots. Adak and Atka, east winds 15 knots. Variable winds for the eastern Aleutians, 10 to 15 knots. For the Kuskokwim Delta coast, winds will be north tomorrow at 20 knots. 15 knots out of the north of the Yukon Delta coast. Light north breezes for Norton Sound and St. Lawrence Island. Out of the north at 10 knots, variable at 10 for St. Matthew Island, call it northwest 15 for the Pribilofs. And then for Sunday, light winds here under high pressure for the Bering Sea, St. Matthew, St. Paul, and St. George Island, light variable winds at 10 knots, and a light north wind at 10 knots for Norton Sound, St. Lawrence Island, the Yukon Delta coast, northwest at 15 for the Kuskokwim Delta coast. And for the eastern Wildwood Sea coast tomorrow, winds coming down, but still looking at brisk wind advisories for easterlies at 25 knots, central and west side east winds 20 to 25 knots, and the Chukchi Sea northwest or north-northwesterlies at 10. And for Sunday, northeast to northwest winds here at 10 knots for the Chukchi Sea, east at 25 for the western Arctic coast, 20 knot winds out of the east for the central and eastern Beaufort Sea coastline.